Recording.
What's going on, everybody? Tello Talk Podcast back again. Sorry for a little bit of a late podcast. It was supposed to get out a little bit earlier this week. We just couldn't get a time to get the three of us together. This might be a little late compared to what we're talking about. Yesterday, the first game of Week 7, Saints versus Cardinals, just got played. But we will be mainly talking about a little bit about Week 6. And then basing a lot of the team stuff we're talking about off of the first 6 weeks of the NFL, just to get it out of the way. Saints Cardinals. As a Saints fan, Andy Dalton threw 6 touchdowns yesterday, and 2 of them were to the wrong team. As a Saints fan, I hate watching this team right now. They're not good. We kind of just need to blow it all up. That's really all I got to say in reality. And for the Cardinals, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're very happy DeAndre Hopkins is back.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Okay. But moving away from that, that's not really what today is about. Today we're going to be talking. We've got 3 main things to go over today. We've got our performers of last week, best and worst. And then we've also got trade talk to go on in a little section that we're going to call overrated, underrated. Okay, so to get us started, we're going to go back to Week 6 this last weekend, and we're going to talk about our top 3 performers and our bottom 3 performers. Starting off with our top 3 performers, we're going to go from 3 to 1. And Cameron, I will let you start. You can say who your number 3 was.
All right, sounds good. So starting off with my top 3 performers, starting off with my third top performer of last week, I'm going to have to go with the Buffalo Bills. I mentioned it before we started the podcast that the Bills defense just overall looked really good in this game. Patrick Mahomes couldn't really get anything started. That's why you see the Chiefs being held to 20 points, which is something you don't really expect to do when you play against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and, all the stars that they have on that offensive side of the ball. And then my second team it was going to be the Jets. Jets looked really good. Zach Wilson to Garrett Wilson has been looking like a really strong connection. The Jets defense completely shut out the Packers offense. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, absolutely nothing on the run game. Aaron Rodgers was trying to play hero ball, and we saw what happens when Aaron Rodgers tries to play hero ball. You get what happened the week before last, which was Packers and Giants in New England, and the Giants ended up winning that one too. My top performer of the week is going to have to be the Patriots. Bailey Zappi, looking really good. Bill Belichick, working his magic like always. There's really nothing you can say. It's kind of the weird thing with the Patriots is that, they'll put up, very rarely you see them put up past 30 points. But it's kind of like a game that you really don't remember happening. That's why I'm kind of struggling with this one a little bit. We are a little bit late, but I don't remember anything that happened in this game, to be honest. I just know the Patriots played very well. Yeah. So, Michael, I'll pass it over to you and your top 3 performers.
Let's hear it.
So, at number 3, I'm going to have to go with what Cameron said, probably the Bills. Because, same thing, like, you don't really expect the Patrick Mahomes to be stopped to such a limit. And also, throwing 2 interceptions in one game, you don't see that from Mahomes. But when it comes down to the Bills, they made it happen. And it's shocking. Plus, 450 total yards that game. It's pretty impressive.
Number 2.
And number 2, same thing, Jets. You can't expect more out of the Jets than what they did. And they beat the crap out of the Packers. Like, it's just, there's not much that can be said about it. The Jets did amazing. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, wait, I need to do my number 1.
Oh, you forgot the number 1.
Yeah, I did. And overall, number 1.
Don't say the. The Ravens.
I'm not gonna say the Ravens. I'm gonna say the Rams.
The Rams.
The Rams did good. Like
They snuck
24
out a
to
win
10.
against the Panthers. The worst
24
team
to
in the
10.
league.
They
You know
didn't
what? Hey,
sneak out
that's
of.
you know what? Let the man talk.
They didn't
Elaborate.
sneak out a win. They won by over like 14 key
They won by
touchdowns. Like
14.
that's what's sweet. Exactly. And
That's
they beat the
exactly.
Panthers in every category. Total yards,
That's probably
passing,
hard to do.
rushing, yards per yard.
Yeah, that's
Like
fair. That's fair.
they had
Fair.
almost 40 minutes of possession compared to the Panthers 20.
That's actually true. I would remember watching that game and just constantly being because I have CMC in fantasy. We'll talk about him later. But I remember constantly looking at that game going, a CMC on the field, a CMC on the field, and it was the Rams like the entire game. But like, let me ask you this, Michael. The Rams 40 minutes of possession time compared to the Panthers 20. I mean, you'd expect a bigger outcome, especially with the Rams and how many stars they have on offense, than a 14-point win, right? Or is that not
Yeah,
alarming to you?
you could definitely expect a lot more. Like maybe they're not number one. Maybe you could flip around my top three. There's nothing like set in stone here because it's like for me, 3, 2, and 1, they're close because all the teams did amazing. But I just see that with how the Rams played and how they've been playing this year, they haven't been that good. And this game was like it was something good. Granted, it was against the Panthers, who kind of suck. But
Mhm.
for the Rams, they're not that great either, and this was a big step up compared to the other games that they played.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right.
Bryce?
Well, I'm gonna get my top three going. Start off at number 3. I put the New York Giants. Reason I put the New York Giants is their defense. Going into this season, a lot of people weren't really looking into their defense that much. I actually was very high on their defense. I thought their defense was good last season towards the end of the year, despite the 4-13 record. I really thought it was offensive problems last year, and with the new head coach Brian Dable, kind of really fixes that. And you look at it, the past 2 games they have beaten Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, and Daniel Jones. A very crazy statistic that not very many people know is they are 5-1 right now, and in 4 of those 5 games, Daniel Jones has led a game-winning drive, and that is something that is just very eye-opening. Eye-opening. I'll talk about more in depth later in this podcast, but just Saquon being healthy just makes this team, and he's always, whenever he's healthy, he's good. And that's why I put the Giants at 3. At number 2, I have what both Michael and Cameron said. I have the New York Jets at number 2. Their run game was just dominant. Zach Wilson really didn't have to do much in the air. Brees Hall is finally having his breakout. He is finally here and showing that he is going to be the next big thing in the NFL. And the Jets defense just made Aaron Rodgers look silly. They gave up 10 points to the former MVP, and I just think that is honestly phenomenal, especially from a defense like the Jets, who have not always been a good defense. And then number 1, I've got the Buffalo Bills. Kind of what they were saying. Not very often you see Mahomes held to 20 and under, and that's what happened on Sunday. And the Bills didn't look like at first for a little bit they were going to come out with a win, and then they had that drive to go up 4, to go up.
The Dawson
And
Knox touchdown.
I believe so.
Yep.
And I knew for a fact after watching that game, I was like, wow, both these teams played incredible, but the Bills were the best team I watched this last weekend. And I think they are by a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to
I'll do
our bottom 3, right?
We're going to be going on to bottom 3.
You want to give your bottom 3 here, Bryce? We'll go back around the other way.
So what we're going to do for number 3, I put the Browns. The Browns just looked awful. Just overall, not a good performance from them at all. Something that I could say they need, kind of gives them a little slack, is the defense they have is 31st. They're the second worst, only ahead of the Lions. So cutting some slack to no hate towards Bailey Zappi because I really liked seeing him do good, but his 2 wins have been against the 2 worst defenses in the league. However, no shade thrown at him. I love seeing him do good. But that's real. I don't have much to say about the Browns. Number 2, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What they did this last weekend was absolutely just bad. I mean,
They lost to
18
Mr.
points, lost to the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers, 18 points. With players like Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette did pretty well, but Tom Brady, just everybody on that team just did not look good at all. And the fact that they're losing to Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky when they're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender because of Tom Brady, that is not promising at all. I mean, right now they're lucky they beat the Falcons because if they hadn't, the Falcons would be in first in the NFC South because they are both with a record of 3-3. And going into the beginning of the season, everybody thought, oh, Buccaneers team has a chance to be 14-3. Well, now they've already got those 3 losses, and I just thought I'm going to go as much as I can to talk about them. They just play terrible, and I love seeing them play terrible, especially because I'm a Saints fan. Despite the Saints being 2-5, they are terrible. They're terrible last week, and I love seeing the Bucs be bad. And then for number 1, I've got the Carolina Panthers. The dysfunction. There's just a dysfunctional locker room. Just nothing's going right there. I mean, they just traded their franchise cornerstone in Christian McCaffrey, kicking out Robbie Anderson, who's a decent deep threat. Not knowing who's their quarterback because Baker Mayfield is yet to show a good performance this entire year, but you really can't trust Sam Darnold either. This whole team is just a mess. I mean, the best thing they've done this year isn't the 1 win against New Orleans, it's firing Matt Rule.
Well said.
And that's my bottom 3. Michael, you can do you
Oh, is
now.
it my turn? All right. Number 3 for me. This may be a bit of can be a bit of a hot take, but and no shade to you, Cameron, but I'm gonna have to go with the 49ers for last week
Yeah.
because the 49ers, I mean, they were like, it was just disappointing to see them play because the Falcons, they were I think they were 2-3 at the time, and
Yes.
it just hurts to see because the 49ers, I thought they had a chance to make it to the playoffs this year, and they just didn't do well that game. 2 interceptions, they lost a fumble as well, and I just didn't see it as a good game. And
Okay.
for number 2, I'm gonna have to go with what Bryce said, and I have to say the Bucks. When you think of the Buccaneers, you think about Tom Brady and that monster house. Like you think that, like you said, you think that they'd be Super Bowl contenders this year, but they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers and they lost to Mitch Trubisky. Like you can't really make that sound positive. And number 1, I would say the Panthers as well. Basically, what I said, whole team was dysfunctional, and nothing was just impressive.
And Cameron, before we go on to your bottom 3, I just want to point out this happened about a half hour ago. Todd Gurley has announced his retirement. Best of luck for him with everything for the rest of his life. He had a great stint with Los Angeles. Pissed
He
me
was still
off.
in the league?
Yeah, he was a free agent for a while. Pissed me off a bunch of times because of how good he was against the Saints. But congrats to Todd Gurley on his retirement. But Cam, you can get going on your bottom 3.
All right. Hold on here. Okay. So for my bottom 3 teams, it was kind of tough because there was like four or so five. I had like 5 teams that I was like kind of like up in the air on like, okay, who played really bad this week, right? And I narrowed it down um to 3. And starting off with the third worst, I went with both of your guys' picks. The Buccaneers. Buccaneers look awful. Obviously they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Most of the time, if you're losing to the Steelers, you're either the Lions or you suck. And that's really all there was to say about that game was that the Buccaneers just didn't look good. Tom Brady hasn't looked good. Chris Godwin looks like he's still, uncomfortable on that hamstring. Or it was the hamstring, correct?
Um,
Or was it
who?
the quad?
Who again?
Godwin.
I don't
It's
remember.
I don't
It's
either.
legs.
It was something with the legs, but Chris Godwin, he just hasn't looked comfortable. Mike Evans and Tom Brady don't look like they're on the same page right now. And then Leonard Fournette just hasn't been running the ball as dominantly as he has. I mean, you had the rookie Rashad White. He looked all right, but and then I mean, Buccaneers only scored 18 points against the Steelers with no TJ Watt. It's just, what do you expect? Moving on to number 2 though, I can't. So here's where things got kind of weird because 2 of my teams were I had 2 teams here and they actually played each other. So it's kind of like a toss up for number 1. And if you don't know what game I'm talking about,
Thanks, so
you've heard it all too much. I gave one of the worst team performances of the week to a winning team. The Chargers and the Broncos both played horrendously on Monday Night Football. Like, I don't know like what it is with the Broncos or what it is with Russ. You see all the pictures of Melvin Gordon staring Russell Wilson in the eyes or staring at Russell Wilson like, man, like, oh, man, who the fuck is this guy, man? Like, we just paid this dude 250 million to go 2-4, potentially 2-5 after they lose to the Jags in London. Like, that. So Broncos were number 1, Chargers were number 2 because Brandon Staley's entire offense on Monday was checkdowns and a little flat screens. It was just horrendous to watch. That's why you see the Chargers who have all these studs on their offense. You got Austin Eckler and Mike Williams and Jay Herbo
Mm-hmm.
only dropping 19 points. I mean, and it's like Mike. So Justin Herbert, I was watching this game and really upset me. I needed 8 fantasy points from Mike Williams to win, and I was watching this game. Mike Williams wasn't even getting looked at by Justin Herbert.
I mean,
Mike Williams was locked up by Patrick Surtain. Justin Herbert wasn't even looking his way. I don't even think that Mike Williams was like getting a read. Mike Williams was like the 3rd or 4th read on every single play, it looked like. And
like,
then everything was just like flat screens. And it was just not fun to watch. It was not a good game plan because it barely worked. I mean, they barely beat him in overtime, and that's where like literally the majority of both of these teams' offensive yards came from was in overtime. And it's just overall just bad play from both of these or AFC West teams. And I mean, you kind of watch this one and I think the Chiefs have got that division locked up.
mhm.
But that's it, right? That was last.
Yeah, those are 3. Those are 3. Yep. So, with that all done, we've all got a little bit different opinions, a little bit similar going on. We're going to be talking about the recent trade talks in the NFL. Starting off, we'll just kind of point out the Robbie
Let me
Anderson
start it.
trade to Arizona. Yeah, kind of just was looked like it was going to happen after he got kicked out. And I'll let Cameron introduce this next one, which is a big one, happened last night. Only because it's his team.
Bang bang, Niner gang, Niner Super Bowl bound, Beast, Leeced, Beast, the Panthers for the greatest running back when he's healthy. arguably the greatest running back in the league right now. We're talking about white boy, God, Christian McCaffrey, California native, went to
You
Stanford.
describing him like that.
Went to Stanford. He's from the Bay Area. You know, he already booked a ticket here before he was even traded. You know why? Because he started practicing today. Less than 24 hours after getting traded, he's already starting practice. And in case anybody doesn't know, upon listening to the podcast, he's wearing the number 23. Personally, not a fan of it, but I'm also not making tens of millions of dollars a year, so
I was
who am
hoping.
I to care?
I was about to say I was hoping you'd go to 5, but then I realized I think Trey Lance is number 5.
Yeah, Trey Lance is number 5. I was really hoping that he got like 21 or 24,
He
but
was number 5 back at Stanford.
yeah, no, I'm. But he next season I bet you he will change it. But when you get traded later in the season, you're obviously a newer guy, so you get slim pickings. But I look at this trade, and I think. Do you have the Niners in the overrated or underrated category or list,
No,
Bryce?
we can put
So
him in
I'll
there.
talk about it now then. So the Niners offense now with Christian McCaffrey is arguably not even arguably it is the most versatile offense in the league. You have Deebo Samuel, who's a great wide receiver and also a great running back. I mean, Deebo Samuel can line up in the backfield. You've got Christian McCaffrey, who's a great running back. Christian McCaffrey lines up in the slot and acts like a wide receiver. You've got Brandon Ayuk, who is just Brandon Ayuk. I mean, Brandon Ayuk kind of had his little pop off his "Hey, I'm coming out, I'm here" game last week against the Falcons. Granted, it was a loss, but he had 2 touchdowns on 8 catches for 83 yards. And sorry, Michael's typing in our little chat here saying that the Niners are going to lose to the Chiefs, which I actually just got a report. Hold on, let me open it up real quick. It was Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, and Jimmy Ward are all playing this week. So the Niners, perfect time to get the Christian
Still gonna
McCaffrey piece.
lose.
Perfect time to get the missing piece, the running back piece. It wasn't a missing piece, but perfect time to get Christian McCaffrey with all the guys coming back, and it's time to make that, second half stretch. And watch out for the Niners, man. Dude, we look good. Niners look really good. I'm actually like, my fantasy team sucks, but I find joy in the Niners winning, and it looks like the Niners are going to be winning a lot more games this year.
Interesting.
Oh,
I,
actually, I want to ask Michael something real quick. Can I ask Michael a question?
He's getting the home.
Can I ask Michael a question real quick, Bryce?
yeah.
So, Michael, on the
Uh-huh.
it was 2 weeks ago when the Raiders played the Chiefs in
Uh-huh.
on Monday or Sunday Night Football, where
Uh-huh.
Devontae Adams was seen looking at a fan who had a Packers jersey on with a poster that said "We miss you, Devontae Adams," and Devontae Adams nods at him and goes, "I miss you too." What are your thoughts on that? Your star wide receiver that was college roommates with your quarterback that seems like he wants out of the Raiders.
To be honest,
He was too
I would
stunned
want
to
out too.
speak. Really?
I don't think it
I
really
mean,
matters.
when you think of the Raiders, they have you can't lie. They have an amazing team. They just can't do shit about it. They they're not living to what they should be doing. They should be doing so much better, and they're not.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's just so disappointing because how many games this year have they lost by one one touchdown? Cardinals game, Chargers game, Titans game, Chiefs game.
Yeah. They
Every
all
game
lost
that
those
they
games.
did not win was by one touchdown.
Fair.
Like it's so disappointing because they could be doing so much better. Derek Carr, he's not the best, but he's not bad too. He's a good quarterback. And
Here's my
Devontae Adams.
thing with Derek Carr is he's a good quarterback, but he needs to start implementing getting out of the pocket more. He is a pocket. Relies too much on staying in the pocket, and if he feels pressure, he just collapses. He doesn't try to improvise. Kind of like what we're seeing with the breakout of Jalen Hurts. He's a great improviser. He's a great improviser. Lamar,
Yeah, like
he's a great
Derek
improviser.
Carr,
Patrick
he's
Mahomes,
good.
great improviser. Josh Allen, great improviser. Aaron Rodgers, he's a great improviser. But Derek Carr could be so much better if he learned how to see a busted play and learn how to adapt to it instead of just shriveling up and taking a sack.
Or just even throwing it out too. Like if he gets out of the tackle box and throws it out, he's saving. It's an incomplete, but he's saving that sack.
Yeah.
Like he needs to learn to improvise, like you said. And to be honest, I don't know if Devontae's going to stay in the Raiders next year. I don't see it happening. He wants to win, and that's what he had with the Packers. And he's not going to get that. I don't. The chances of the Raiders making it to the playoff this year are low, but it's possible. I mean, all the teams that they have that they go up against for the rest of the season, I think out of all the games, they're only projected to lose 3 of them
They're
out of the
favored
14.
12 of the next. I think you sent me something. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
favored in 11 of the next 12 games they play. The only game they're not favored in
yeah,
is the other game against the Chiefs.
yeah. And we saw how they did with the Chiefs. They lost because, in the Chiefs game, that was a good game. They decided to go for a 2-point conversion over the field goal, and they didn't get it. That's what happened. But I don't see Devontae staying because Devontae, he's hands down possibly one of the best wide receivers ever in the NFL. And he wants to win. He wants to show that. And Derek Carr is not giving that to him.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Any any
where that
trade
all
rumors
started.
that you want to talk about, Bryce? DJ Moore?
That's actually what I'm trying to do right now. The Christian McCaffrey trade, I'm just going to talk about it. The 2023 second, third, and fourth, and 2024 fifth. Personally, Cam, I know you think it was a fleece, but in my opinion, I think it was pretty well for both sides. 49ers got one of the best running backs in the league, but he has a little bit of injury concerning. And the Niners not the Niners gave away to Carolina quite a bit of picks, so I think Carolina's a little happy about that, especially because they have the projected first pick in the draft this year. I thought it was good for both teams. And then I'll move on. Elijah Moore just requested a trade. He hates his workload. I think personally he will get traded to some team around the area, like maybe Baltimore.
The Jets said they weren't going to play him though, or they weren't gonna trade him or play him.
He'll get traded, or he'll leave.
I know he will get traded, but the Jets did come out and say that they were not planning on trading him, and they aren't planning on playing him this week either, which is, if you ask me, the best job that you could possibly have, if you don't like football, of course, and you are in the NFL,
Yeah.
sitting on the sideline,
Mm-hmm.
making money.
Yeah, and then DJ Moore, multiple teams have been calling Carolina about DJ Moore. Personally, I think he would fit best with a team like the Packers or the Ravens, maybe even the Cowboys. Look out for the Cowboys to try and trade for another receiver because CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup isn't going to cut it the entire season. But that's really it for the trade section, unless you guys have anything to say about those.
Mm-mm.
All right. This next section we're gonna go on. This one will probably take a majority of our time. Is going to be the last one. It is overrated or underrated, and then obviously properly rated. Starting off, we got about 10 teams, sorry, that we will speak on here. And we're gonna go with number one is the only 6-0 team in National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll just say the names, and then both of you guys will say if they're underrated or overrated.
So are we basing this off of their position in the power rankings?
Just everything.
Okay.
Everything about the team. Record,
So, like,
performance.
personal preference, like if we think that they're overrated or underrated.
What your opinion is on the team.
Gotcha.
if you think their record is what they are.
Okay. Can you want to start us off?
Start us off, Cameron. with the
Oh, we're
Eagles.
doing. You said the Eagles, correct? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Eagles. I'm gonna say properly rated.
Okay.
They played a couple formidable opponents, the Cowboys, but I think that where people have them right now, which is in the power rankings at number 2, you know, it makes sense. The Eagles, however, if they stop putting up numbers in the second quarter, they're that's the only problem I have is that it seems like the Eagles only score points in the second quarter.
Fair. Yeah. They have the most points scored in a quarter in the second quarter. The most
112.
in the season so far in a quarter in NFL history, when like one quarter combined.
I think the Eagles have more points scored in the second quarter than the um, Bears have total points all year.
Yes. Michael,
Crazy.
what
Bears fucking suck, dude. I hate living in Chicago. Such a disappointment. So disappointing to say their sports teams are the Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, and the Chicago Bears.
Rated the Eagles or properly rated.
Oh yeah,
Michael?
my bad. My bad. Me? Interesting. I'm gonna say properly.
What about you, Bryce?
I'm gonna go with properly rated. I think the Eagles. If you look back at the very first episode that Cameron and I uploaded,
Literally back in like,
back
oh my god,
before
and it was like in
it was the day before the Super Bowl.
2008.
no, it was early February
It was bad.
or
I
late
know
February.
February 2008.
it was early February, the day before the Super Bowl, where I was pointing out that the Eagles were going to be good this year, and look at them now,
And
six
still have a
0,
ton of draft picks.
and they have the 5th overall pick currently because they have the Saints draft pick. Not much to say about the Eagles other than that. Phenomenal both sides of the ball. Darius Slay is being big play Slay. James Bradbury was a great addition for them. But yeah,
AJ
that's your.
Brown was a great addition for them.
Oh yeah, I think we
They
all
got
know that.
AJ Brown for like nothing, just a second rounder, right?
First round pick,
Oh, that's right.
and like a fourth.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been really solid. The connection with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, it looks like those guys have been playing together, since college.
Yeah. So we're gonna go on to the next one. Next team we got. I just talked about them earlier. The 5-1 Giants. I'll start it off. I think for their record, people will say they're overrated. But that's why, for my reasoning, I'll say they are underrated because people still think they are the old Giants, the 4-13, 6-10, 5-11 Giants. I would say they're underrated solely because of that. Because, as I said earlier, Daniel Jones has led 4 game-winning drives. That is incredible from Daniel Jones. And he is just proving himself a little more than he has the past 4 seasons or 3 seasons or whatever, how many years he's been in the league. Brian Daboll, as another guy said back in February, was my favorite head coach hiring. Coming from Buffalo, a very prolific offense out in Buffalo. He's just showing that he can be a top coach in the NFL in his first year already. I would not be surprised. I mean, obviously, even though the Eagles are undefeated, Dable is very close to winning or the Coach of the Year in his first season. I love the Giants. I love watching them play like this, and that's why I've got to say they're underrated. I think a lot of teams still don't think they're going to be able to keep it up, and I think they'll be able to keep it up with the way their defense has been playing and the way the offense is actually produced.
Uh, I'd have to say the Giants are properly rated. I think that the hype about them, like about are the Giants back? I know there's a lot of people that, like you were saying, think the Giants are like not back. Like they're like kind of saying it's a fluke. Brian Dable is he's emerged as early Coach of the Year candidate. Um, Rightfully so. However, the reason why I say properly rated and not underrated is that because, you are seeing the Giants have to come back from a lot of games. Down. I'm reading this here that says the Giants are 3-1 in games which they trail by double digits, and you really start to kind of question, well, how many games can you really come back and win when you're down by 10 or more? And the answer is really it's hard to do it consistently, but it looks like the Giants have been doing that consistently so far, and that's why I have them at properly rated. Also, Saquon's emerged. Saquon's back. That's why when I was talking about CMC earlier, and then I said arguably, it's because the other guy in that conversation for me is Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. Love it. Michael?
For me, I'll say they're properly rated, but leaning more towards overrated.
Why is that?
The Giants, it's like the Raiders situation. Most of their games, the one possession game, and most times. Like the Ravens game, they won by 4, and Bears won by 8, Packers won by 5. Like it's so close, and like Cameron said, they're 3-for-1 when they're down by double digits. But how long can they keep that up?
True.
Like how long can the Giants stay consistent with that? Because who knows? Maybe they could go out and I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're underrated, but I just don't see them holding it for that long. Maybe another 2 weeks, and then I see that the Giants are really going to see what they're made of, and they're not going to keep getting this miracle.
Like that. I'm really waiting to see when they play the Eagles. Because that'll be a good matchup, good test for them, especially, and even maybe
Play the
even
Eagles the 11th
huh?
of December. The 11th of December is when they play the Eagles.
And if the Giants can keep up what they've been doing, I think that'll be a great thing to watch.
Yeah.
So, next team we're gonna go with is in the fellow team in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the New York Jets.
Oh.
Cameron.
They were in all three of our top 3 performances from the last week. Jets looking really good, like I said earlier. Michael Carter, requesting a trade it kind of damages the morale just a little bit, but it shouldn't really affect their production, because he did only really have 1 target last week. But other than that, it's been the Jets defense that has kind of shined for them. Of course, I'm not trying to take away from Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson. Their connection has looked really good so far, but the defense has been the shining star of this team. Holding Aaron Rodgers to 10. Sauce Gardner's looked really good. So for the Jets, I'd probably have to say underrated. I think the Jets have, Robert Saleh, former Niners defensive coordinator. He's kind of the reason why the Niners have such a good defense now, and because he built the defense as the Niners have now. And so, moving over to the Jets, you kind of figured he'd do the same thing, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good good little description for him. Michael.
My bad. What's the looking at again?
Jets, underrated, overrated.
Oh, totally underrated.
So
The Jets, they were the first team to end the Dolphins' winning streak, and they demolished the Dolphins. And the next week,
the Bengals.
Packers. I mean, they did get demolished by the Bangies.
No,
but
I'm saying the Bengals were the team that beat the Dolphins.
Oh, really? What? No, that's cap.
Yeah, I was on Thursday night when Tua got hurt.
No, I'm saying they were the first one to end their streak.
The Bengals were.
Were they? Oh, you're right. My bad. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, I thought we were talking about the Dolphins.
Or
Or the Jets.
But I
They're
was
the
just
Jets.
correcting Michael.
Yeah, you're right. I was looking at the wrong thing. My fault.
Okay.
But either way, Dolphins, they're good. Jets kick the shit out of them. Then the next week, they go and get the Packers. Kind of expected the Jets to lose that game, and they won by a large margin against the Packers. So, really, I can see them doing a lot. And this week, they're going against, Broncos country. That's right. And they're going to win that game. And the week in 2 weeks from now, that's going to be a very interesting game. They're going against the Bills, and that's going to be a big test. And I want to see that game because I think that's going to be one of the most interesting games this year. Because the Jets, they've lived up to so much potential. I mean, last year, going into this year, you would have never expected the New York Jets to be positive. Like, you would have never expected them to beat the Packers and all that. Like, you wouldn't expect that out of the Jets. But it's promise, and I truly think that they have a chance to make it to the postseason this year.
Playoffs.
Same thing. Sorry, baseball.
Yeah, no, we're in the baseball mood. That's okay.
Speaking of baseball,
MLB postseason going on. Been pretty good so far.
Yeah, I don't want the Astros to win, but they're probably gonna because the Yankees suck.
Can I mention real quick? Just Michael was saying it. We didn't expect the Jets to be this good. Can we talk? I just want to mention it real quick. We don't have to talk about it, but how weird this season has really been. Because last year, right, was like the whole AFC is like the entire AFC was so tightly compact, and you didn't know who was going to be the one seed and all that stuff. And then this year, it's kind of like I can't even put it into words how weird it is. The Jets are all of a sudden really good. All three New York teams are really good all of a sudden, and then you got teams that you thought were going to be good, like the Packers and the Bucks, that are kind of struggling. Like, I mean, it's just something I kind of wanted to point out. But go ahead, Bryce.
All right. For the Jets, I'm going to say they're also underrated. I think for being 4-2, the way their defense has been playing, I think it's another kind of case for the Giants. They're being thought as they're just the typical Jets. They're going to find a way to end up messing this up, and I don't think that's true. I think their team has definitely probably turned around for the better. I love Garrett Wilson as a rookie wide receiver. Although Elijah Moore is probably not going to be on the team anymore towards the end of the season. I still think that this Jets team is good and that the defense has really played out lights out. And with that, I'm going to move on to the next team. We're going to go with the Green Bay Packers. At 3-3, I'm going to say the Packers are actually properly rated to their record, but overrated because of Aaron Rodgers. And here's why. 3-3 is the way they have performed. They look like a 3-3 team right now. But Aaron Rodgers will always make a team be rated higher than they are, just because he's Aaron Rodgers. And that's the problem, is that he's not the same Aaron Rodgers this season to make people think that they're that NFC North winning team. Because in my opinion, the Vikings have this division locked up, or if they just keep on playing like they do. Because the Vikings are 2 games ahead and have a head-to-head win over the Packers. Packers just don't look good. They just don't look like themselves.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the NFL Power Rankings, and it has the Packers listed at 15. And you know what? I'm gonna say that they are properly rated. And kind of like you were saying, Aaron Rodgers does kind of like inflate that rating a little bit. But I think that 15 is a proper rating for the Packers. Like Aaron Jones, other than that, like one big game he had, like week 3, I think it was, just hasn't been able to get anything going. AJ Dillon also, not really able to get anything going. And then you're seeing a lot of hero ball. I said it earlier in the podcast. Aaron Rodgers likes to play hero ball. He doesn't listen to anything that Matt LaFleur says. He calls like his own plays, and like the Packers, it's just not working because he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore. He doesn't have that safety throw, right? And so that's why you're seeing the Packers struggle. I think that a lot of teams came into this year, or everybody kind of came into this year thinking the Packers defense was going to be elite. You know, the very, very strong defense. And for the most part, it has been, but also there's been, they've had their moments. And so that's why I'm saying properly rated.
Like that's good. Good. I like that description. Michael, your thoughts on the Packers?
All right, Packers. I'm gonna say they're overrated
Okay.
because even though they're 3-3, and like Clement said, I mean, I'd say they could be properly ranked or overrated. I'd say overrated more because they're 3-3, 15 down the middle of the road for power rankings, but they're disappointing. Like again, going into this year, you would have expected, oh, Packers are just gonna win the division again, and because of the Packers, but they've started off this year terrible compared to what people were expecting going into this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on. Cam, I'll let you start it since you hit these were your top performers of last week. The New England Patriots.
Patriots rated at 17 in the NFL Power Rankings, right behind the Las Vegas Raiders. And for that sole reason, I'm going to say underrated. Bailey Zappi looks incredible. Bill Belichick, I don't know how he does it, but whenever he has some sort of backup quarterback that he drafted in like the 6th round, they're just all of a sudden really good. Um, Shout out to Tom Brady. But it's kind of been the defense that carries this team. Um, I mean, like I said before, this game wasn't really one that you watched. Not, I mean, from speaking from a fantasy perspective, not that many fantasy guys in this, but it's you're starting to look at the Patriots now and go, who on this team is really good, and it's Damian Harris, Bailey Zappi, and the entire defense, and Bill Belichick, of course. And that's kind of been the theme about the Patriots is Bill Belichick being the mastermind coach that he is. And last 2 years it's been, who was it, Brady or Belichick? And it was Brady. And this year it's kind of looking like, it's turning the tides of that argument and turning in the favor of Belichick, considering the Patriots continue to strive and the Buccaneers continue to, not strive, or
Mhm.
I guess kind of play poorly.
You know,
So for that reason, yeah, I already said underrated. Yeah, underrated, super underrated, actually.
and here's my thing about New England is I've seen some like correlations people have been saying. I think it's funny. I don't agree with it truly. But the whole Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi is starting to look like Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady. Now, I'm not calling Bailey Zappi the next Tom Brady, but it definitely looks. It's kind of funny how that happens, under the same coach on the same team.
It's all just Bill Belichick.
It's literally just the Bill Belichick way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the miracle man.
And speaking of that, Michael, what's your thoughts on the Patriots?
Oh, I'm gonna have to agree. Underrated solely. Like, I mean, again, nothing special going into this year. Didn't expect them to do too much, but and they're still kind of that way. They're not doing too horrible, but they're not doing too great.
Mm-hmm.
But the win over the Browns last week, pretty good. Shutting out the Lions, barely losing to the Packers. You know, they're not horrible. They could go somewhere if they keep playing the way that they keep going with. And, if Bill Belichick's miracle kicks in, I think that they have a chance to do some good with the rest of the season. So I'm going to say underrated.
Yeah, I like that. With the Patriots, I think they are leaning more towards underrated. I would probably say they're properly rated. However, as I said, they're probably leaning towards underrated a little bit. Is at the end of the day, they're a Belichick-led team. This was a team that was 10-7 last year and was until the very end of the year competing with the Buffalo Bills for the division. This team it's just the true they're showing that Patriot spirit still. Just without Tom Brady. And then they've got guys like Matthew Judon on their defense. Although they lost J.C. Jackson, J.C. Jackson isn't looking good at all, in my opinion, in Los Angeles for the Chargers. So I'm not really like too high or too low on the Patriots now. So that's why I'd say they're more towards properly, but I'd lean underrated. And then going on with the next one, I've got this one, the Kansas City Chiefs. For me, I'm gonna say the Kansas City Chiefs are still properly rated, despite the 4-2 record. They are still rated a top 3 team in the league, which they are. Losing to the Bills is not something that you should be like. Obviously, you're gonna be mad if you lose a game, but the Bills are the Bills. They're the best team in the league, in my opinion. Despite the Eagles being 6-0, I still think the Bills are the best team in the NFL. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They've got the best tight end in the league. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Andy Reid, and they've got a pretty decent defense when their defense likes to show up. So I will say the Chiefs are properly rated for how they are.
Yeah,
Anyone?
I agree with you there. I also think the Chiefs are properly rated. There's not much to say about the Chiefs if you watch football. You already know what to say. Like, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, great connection. That's kind of the story about why the Chiefs really didn't win the game against the Bills, was because Travis Kelce was locked up like all game long, and um you know you they kind of like open the window or open the eyes of other teams, like, okay, so this is what happens like if Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a guy. However, every other team does not have Von Miller and the defense that the Bills have, and so
Oh yeah.
that's why the Chiefs are still properly rated, ranked number 3 in ESPN power rank, or the NFL power ranking, sorry. Um and I mean that's really all there is to it. Just the Chiefs being the Chiefs. I mean, when you've got a guy like Patrick Mahomes on a contract for 10 years, you're going to be good. I wish. Michael?
Sorry, I'm currently flipping my mattress around. But the Chiefs, not a fan. Being a Raiders fan, kind of hate them to guts. But I gotta acknowledge, they're properly rated. You know, the Chiefs, they're good, and I do agree with Bryce that they are. Well, you said they're power ranking 4. You said
3.
Top 3.
3. I do agree. I think they are a top 3 team in the NFL. And as again, despite being 4-2, they're gonna make it to the playoffs this year because Patrick Mahomes is just unstoppable. And
Yeah.
even though, like Cameron said, Travis Kelce being locked up all game, still managed to get 20 points on the board and almost beat the Bills.
Yeah. I like it. I like how we're all on the same page for the Chiefs. Next team, we're gonna head up with the Minnesota Vikings. Uh, for the Minnesota Vikings, Michael, how have you started?
Me? Yeah.
Yes.
Vikings. I'd say, honestly, properly rated because the Vikings, they're doing really good this year. But to be honest, pretty much every team they've gone against this year kind of sucks. Like they haven't had a real competitor this year besides the Eagles. And when they went against a team that was good, they lost. I mean, the Dolphins, they started off good and they fell off. So it's nothing too horrible, but they still lost. Or they beat the Dolphins. And the Bears, they suck. Saints, they suck. Lions, they suck. Like they haven't had a real competitor this year. And the second half, that's when they're going to start to get the good teams. And I think that they're going to meet it there.
Cameron?
Like Michael was kind of saying, he said it best. Vikings really haven't played anyone. And when they did play someone, they got kind of smashed on prime television. against the Eagles. So for that reason, I'm gonna have to say overrated. I think that they are ranked so highly because of their record. You could argue that they did beat the Dolphins without Tua or Jalen Waddle against Skylar Moore, and that's really all there is to say about the Vikings is that they just haven't really played anyone. So it's kind of hard saying overrated, but simply for the fact that they are ranked fourth in the ESPN Power Rankings, I'm gonna have to say overrated.
Okay, I respect it. I would say overrated as well. You look at their 5 wins. It's the Packers, Dolphins, Bears, Saints, and Lions. Um, and the best team they've probably record wise was the Dolphins, and it was against their third string quarterback that ended up getting hurt in the game.
Yep.
Um, or the Packers could even be it, but they just don't really have that impressive of a win. The game against the Saints, they lucked out because of the double doink. Their most impressive win was probably the season opener against the Packers when Justin Jefferson absolutely obliterated Jair Alexander and the Packers defense. But other than that, I haven't really been too impressed by them, and that's something I want to see out of the Vikings. But until now, I'm going to say they're overrated.
Yeah.
Did I say overrated or underrated? I mean,
I think you said properly.
properly.
You said properly.
Oh, my bad. I meant overrated. My bad.
I'm pretty sure you meant overrated because you said the same thing I
Yeah,
did about how they haven't played anyone yet. So
Yeah,
that's
I meant
kind
to
of the
say
thing.
overrated.
Yeah,
we all
it's.
say
I'm just
overrated.
unsure. Just unsure.
All overrated for Vikings. We're gonna combine the last two teams. They're the two LA teams. We got the Rams and the Chargers. In my opinion, they go in the same category, and it is the overrated category. Um, Obviously the Rams, the reigning Super Bowl champs, they just don't look like themselves right this season. I mean, losing Von Miller and Odell were like didn't seem like they would be that big, but they have the Von Miller loss especially has been
I
big for
felt the
them.
change.
And Matthew Stafford has not looked good at all this year. I mean, they're sitting at 3-3. They beat the Panthers by 2 touchdowns, but that's basically kind of hardly beating the Panthers. Um, and they just don't look good. And then for the Chargers too, they just don't look good either. I mean, going to overtime, playing terrible against the Broncos. I mean, they're 4-2. They're 4-2, but they just don't look like a 4-2 team. Both the teams in LA are very underperforming this year, and that's why I have both of them at overrated.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think I'm split on that. So I'm gonna say the Chargers are properly rated and the Rams are overrated. The Chargers are dealing with a lot of injuries. The Chargers lost Rashawn Slater. They're out of Keenan Allen. You know, so that's why they're properly rated. Obviously, when you play down to the Broncos on Monday Night Football, not what you like to see. But it happened, and that's all you can really say about it.
Yeah.
As for the Rams, other than Odell and Von Miller, there's really no excuses for the Rams. Just not both of those teams really, or not. Sorry, both not both. The Rams offensive line just doesn't look good. The defense lackluster. So for that reason, Rams overrated, Chargers properly rated. Well, actually, hold on. Let me see, because I'm pretty sure the Chargers are ranked at 10. So that's fair in my opinion.
Michael?
I'm gonna have to agree with Cameron. I'm gonna go overrated Rams, properly rated Chargers, because the Rams, coming off a Super Bowl, they should be doing a lot better than they are currently doing, and they are not.
Mm-hmm.
Because after winning the Super Bowl against the Bengals, you would expect them to do good and have another contending season. And at this point, who knows if they're even going to win the wild card if they make it.
If they make it.
because at this point, who knows what is going to happen with the Rams because they've been so on
Really?
and off the season, and it's just they're not living up to what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And they're also not going against that easy teams. They're going to go against the Chargers again. They're going to go against Packers, Raiders, Chiefs, Saints, Bucks, 49ers. They're going to be met with their makers, and I don't see them possibly even making it to the wild card.
If they keep playing like they are, I 100% agree.
And Chargers, like Cameron said, a lot of injuries, a lot of things bringing them down, and they could possibly live up to what if they keep going at the rate that they're going, they could make it to the wild card. But they gotta do something to make up for those injuries because if they keep doing what they're doing, they're not gonna get
there. Yeah. Something I also didn't mention is J.C. Jackson just looks awful, as I said earlier, but he just gets toasted. But Asante Samuel Jr., great corner. That's all we've got for today. Thanks for tuning in. This one wasn't as long as the ones we've had with the three of us before, just about an hour. And so I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope everyone enjoyed. We'll be back soon next week. Make sure to
I
tune
want to
in.
do one next week to talk about the Raiders and Saints game between me and Bryce.
Okay.
I think that game will be interesting.
Tune in to a lot of college football games. Tune into the TCU Horned Frogs and playing the Kansas State Wildcats.
Tune into a game tonight if you want to. Friday night football games going on. I know that Meridian. No, nobody cares about Meridian. Never mind.
Meridian High School, Eagle High School,
playing in the district championship tonight.
But
if you're into that,
just watch your football this weekend. Watch your basketball if you'd like to.
And your baseball.
Watch your baseball. I'll be having a podcast soon about the NLCS and the ALCS recaps once those are over and a World Series preview. But that's all for me today. It's all for my boys Cam and Michael today. So that's gonna be it for us. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Later.